one of the fastest growing company, with the sales of over $1 billion since launched. Nothing has 100,000 orders in 24 hours. Yet strangest of all was the design. A glass black with over 900 LEDs and a minimalist OS at half the price of an iPhone.
Everything was going perfect, until the same fans who made them famous turned their backs on them. So, what in the world is Nothing? Why? It was named Nothing. Well, it all begins on October 29th, 2020, with a Swedish entrepreneur, Carl Pei.
You must have heard this name. He was the founder of OnePlus. OnePlus was doing great on its own, and it has grown 163% in year 2020, when the whole mobile market was at decline and shrunk 15%. But Carl Pei was up to something. He left his own company. Why? Internal drama? Was he exhausted? Well, it was not that traumatic. His words before leaving the company was, "OnePlus has been my singular focus for the last 7 years. I'm looking forward to taking some time off to decompress, and then follow my heart on to what's next." Carl quickly began working on his new plan. He had his finances sorted out with strong backers like Steve Huffman, the CEO and founder of Reddit, and Casey Neistat. So what's next? It was another new company, but this time it was not just another OnePlus. And it wasn't just phones either. He founded a new company on October 2020 called Nothing. It was a brand all about simplicity and minimalist products. In one of his interviews, Carl said the phones nowadays are way different than the phones we used to have back 50 years ago. The phones of modern era has lost the purpose they once served for. But let's take a step back. Isn't the phone industry already saturated? The main thing is whether it's a cheap smartphones, mid-range smartphones, or high-end. They all look the same. They all look like iPhone. Carl knew if he wanted to enter this saturated market, he must do something different. And to do that, he explains his ideology of timelines. He explains if you copy Apple's design, you will also be easily identified as of that time period. We want to create a more timeless designed language by moving away from the Apple and creating consistency. So, in March 2020, Nothing launched its first phone. A mid-range phone with Android as its operating system. But what surprised everyone the most was the design. It was something totally new. Something completely different form this timeline. The best party was the clear glass back with LEDs. Well, it all paid off. Everyone really seems to like the design. But it was not just the clear back. The idea of Nothing was to create a more accessible phone that also doesn't try and keep you on your phone 24/7. Carl wanted to get close to the idea of why it was originally created. That being said, idea of LEDs were so unique as it was used for notification and ringtones, and a great camera fell lights, and even your phone charge level. It definitely a gimmick and it looks wild and out there, but that exactly the point. With this they entered the saturated market filled with big sharks. As a new company, the most difficult task of them was to get people interested, and with this they have achieved it. It was not just the exterior. Nothing has built his own custom UI called Nothing OS, based on Android, which looks fascinating, but the most important detail was the price. It was $500, almost half the price of an iPhone 13. Just to be clear, it has cheaper components, but it felt premium with that unique design and premium look. It was not just any other dumb phone or commodity phone. With this, Carl established Nothing as a company with unique ideology that people actually liked it. It was not just a regular phone company. It was something different which sparked among a competitor. With the years of experience in OnePlus, Carl built hype by posting specs and feature on X and Reddit. People really believed that Nothing was the next big thing. The iPhone of Android. In just 2 days, Nothing had 100,000 people on waiting list. Then the phone came out, and that momentum continued. 2 years later, Nothing 2 was dropped and had 100,000 sales in just 24 hours. Unbelievable for a new company. Even though they had small market sales, Nothing was growing fast. Everything seems to be going great, but in reality, people were beginning to notice some cracks. Nothing was still creating awesome phones for most of the part, but things started to go off track. Nothing started getting attention for all wrong reasons. One of the major factors driving Nothing successful was its design and user interface. Nothing offered ad and bloatware-free interface to its uses. Soon Nothing 2 was launched. It was just like Nothing 1.
Introducing Phone 2.
Same design, better performance, small quality of life improvement. People loved the iconic weird and bored design. It felt different through the price was a little higher. Exactly $599. But still it was a great mid-range phone. But things started to change when Nothing Phone 3 was announced. It was said to be Nothing's flagship, but it was more like a disaster for the fans. First, the design was not just weird, but messy. Camera, we moved to weird locations. The original design was gone, and fans were not happy about it. The LEDs were replaced by a small screen that could be loaded with different designs. But still it wasn't same as before. Even after this, people started warming up to the design, but what they couldn't warm up to was the price. Phone 3 base variant, which is 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, cost $799, while 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage cost $899. Nothing was now competing with flagships of mobile giants. Nothing was moving from mid-range to premium. But in tech industry, flagship means the best we can offer. It also means competing with iPhone Pro, Pixel Pro, and Samsung Galaxy Ultra. Now Nothing was either range of Apple, which itself means premium. It felt like a betrayal to the fans. It felt like Nothing betrayed its own original idea of providing good quality smartphones in mid-range. Even after all this, Nothing was nowhere near the flagships of other company. The specs were underwhelming. They used Snapdragon 8's Gen 4 chipset, which is available in other phones like Poco F7 for $470 only. It contains 50 megapixel camera on both back as well as front. But in practice, they were just okay, especially in low light. Ironically, it was something. The phone was good at thanks to those LEDs. To be clear, it was just a regular, Nothing phone, but with a higher price and a lot of gimmicks. People were disappointed.
I have waited 2 years to buy this phone, and all they did was convince me to buy Pixel 10.
However, what Nothing did next was completely unexpected. Carl responded directly to these reviews on YouTube, a lot of them, and honestly, these responses were very polite and were not overdrawn.
Like great specs and you don't really care how it looks, how it feels, then there's a bunch of other options. Like we didn't need to exist for those options to be available, but if you're somebody who's looking for something more unique and our design language, our software speaks to you, then you have another option now. Isn't it better to have more options?
But there was still a problem. Many criticisms were not addressed, with Carl saying they're just a startup and that some people like their product, and that it's not for everyone. But Carl seemed to misunderstand or ignore why people were actually frustrated. Carl doesn't realize that he is not competing against Nothing Phone 2. He is competing against the actual flagships. Even though the brand was doing a lot of heavy lifting, the fans weren't buying it. The backlash was real. Yet somehow that's not even the worst of it. In November 2023, Nothing launched Nothing Chats, private end-to-end encrypted text between Android and iMessage. Sounds great, right? Well, within 24 hours, the app disappeared from the Play Store. As it turns out, developers did some digging and found some big flaws. First, in order to use Nothing Chats, you had to use your iCloud login. Then a developer, Dylan Rosal, did some digging and found that messages were sent in plain text to Sentry, a bug reporting platform, and stored as unsecured on Firebase. The developer had access to every message, but it got worse. Anyone with the right expertise could access these messages, since there wasn't any form of actual end-to-end encryption, despite Nothing claiming it did. The app was quickly pulled from the App Store, but this was just the tip of the iceberg. Nothing had a bunch of strange ideas, with poor though processing. Then Nothing 3 and 3A launched with Essential Space. This was an app-powered vault, and was a key selling point of the phones. It organized screenshots, voice notes, reminders, and more with an essential key. Sounds great, right? Well, customers quickly learned that it wasn't really a feature of the phone. Instead, it was an extra service with a bigger price tag. People also quickly noticed monthly limits on storage. Some users did some digging and found some code mentioning clam-free trial and a claim price $120. Fans were confused and upset. But why? It was same as Apple and Google having a cloud with a subscription. Well, Nothing didn't mention there was a usage limit. This was marketed as a main feature of the phone, yet secretly it seemed to be a subscription service. Customers were becoming more and more frustrated. Nothing quietly increased the limits. And Carl insisted there were no plans for premium features yet. fans were also noticing something else. Nothing was slowly changing. From an open mid-range value-driven phone company to a profit-driven company. Not the old enthusiastic customer-oriented company anymore. People were calling this a walled garden. Nice features, but behind expensive software, products, and subscriptions. This was looking like the same ecosystem as of Apple. With Apple, however, you buy into that idea from the beginning. Nothing seemed to be moving away from its initial idea of good value, openness, minimalism, and a bit of rebellion to exclusivity and a walled garden. So how is Nothing doing? Well, on the surface, Nothing seems to be doing well. In 2024, Nothing was the fastest growing smartphone brand, with a 567% increase year over year. As of July 2025, the company has passed $1.5 billion in total revenue. But even with that revenue, they're still not quite self-sufficient, let alone profitable. In 2023, they raised $100 million, and now in 2025, they're trying to do it again. In total, they have 7 million device sales to date, and are now shipping 1 million a quarter. Very impressive, but Samsung, by comparison, is shipping 57 million. Of course, Samsung is a titan, and Nothing is a startup. But it shows the scale of their competition. And as of Nothing announcement of letting add and block wear in their budget segment phones, things might not go well for them.